Hello, and you are listening to Ecojustice Radio. We present environmental and climate stories from a social justice frame. We amplify community voices, broaden the reach of grassroots-based movements, and hopefully inspire action. Let's go on a wild ride into the wilderness of real life and real imagination. It's a venerable carnival of the animals out there. If you put your ear to the ground, you can hear them coming. Ecojustice Radio acknowledges that we recorded this show on the traditional territory of the Atacama and other Andean people in the place we call Iquique, Chile. On today's show, La Tirana Festival, primordial narratives, and Spanish conquest collide in the Atacama Desert of Chile. We feature a discussion between Rodolfo Andaur, a visual arts curator and cultural manager and director of Actinometro, based in the Tarapacá region of the Atacama Desert in Chile, as well as Osceola Refetoff, Canadian-American visual artist and photojournalist, and my collaborator on the PBS SoCal project called High and Dry. Rodolfo Andaur studied journalism and holds an MA in art history. He's taken part in curatorial teams that focus on critical analysis and reflection about Anthropocene, climate change, colonialism, and eco-geopolitics in Latin America. He's lived in the Tamarugo forest near La Tirana for many years and has come to teach large groups of culture bearers, myself included, from all over the origins of the festival and how it translates to understanding the territory of the desert, the history of mining and conquest, and the relationship of spirit and actualization in an oppressed peoples. This interview was recorded in a restaurant in Iquique, Chile, in 2024. The Fiesta de la Tirana is held annually in the unusual stands of the Tamarugo trees in the midst of the rolling pampas in northern Chile. The celebration happens in the locality of La Tirana during the week of July 16 in honor of both the Virgen de Carmen and the Virgin of La Tirana. La Tirana is the biggest geographically localized festival, religious or otherwise, in Chile and attracts between 200 and 250,000 visitors, maybe more, during the week of celebrations, while the permanent population normally numbers about 5,000. The place is completely inundated. This includes a diverse array of visitors: the devoted, the curious, the observant, the vow makers or pilgrims/dancers fulfilling their spiritual promises, and business folks selling their wares. The small village streets are full of costumed, shielded, and masked dancers, brass bands and flutes and drums and matracas, marching, fondas selling food, dust, as they call it, chuspa, is everywhere. It is both extremely hot under the burning sun all day and freezing by night. Fireworks exploding amid the atmosphere that carries the air of mystery, tradition, playful enactments, devotional expression, all sustained by the cult, the concept, the veneration of one of the two sacred deities. We should note that the Atacama Desert is mining territory, dominated historically by copper, silver, nitrate, or saltpeter, bunch of carved out ghost towns left over from that period, as well as now lithium. And we've done a couple of shows in the past, if you look through our archives, as well as we published on PBS SoCal about these things. The population of these hot rolling pampas in Andean Altiplano are forced to survive in this dangerous dance of the underground forces dominated by, well, the Andean god of the underworld, Supai, supreme lord of the Ukupacha or underworld, a multifaceted force that represented shadow, night, darkness, chaos, and the inevitable transition of death. Some in the Catholic Church see them as devils, but they are purveyors of both positive and negative forces in the universe. Others call them Uncle of the Minds. Thus was born the Diabladas, the dances of the Diablos or devils, between the good and the bad, the light and the shadow, played out at La Tirana and many other festivals across Bolivia and Peru. So these racial stereotypes, Chinese people as slaves, the portrayal of North American indigenous peoples, the Morenos or black indigenous, the gypsies, who we would not regularly use such derogatory terms. My apologies to listeners who find these references offensive. All I can say is the portrayal of all these people is meant in veneration and identifying with their place in society and their way of living in the world. The dancers in La Tirana see these peoples as brothers and sisters to emulate through song, dance, and costume. I think Rodolfo makes this point well, but for those listening who might take this out of context, when you investigate further and actually experience the dances, you will see the wonder and beauty expressed there. These are a few recorded and auto-dubbed by AI, unfortunately, sorry for that, but I thought to give you a little context of what the general people, how it's reported about La Tirana Festival.
More than 200,000 people from all over the country are expected to take part this year in the traditional Tirana Festival, which celebrates the 100th anniversary of the Virgin of Carmen's coronation. Although this year's event has been marked by a scorching heat wave gripping the Pampa del Tamarugal, devotion, faith, and tradition remain as steadfast as ever. With an emotional solemn entrance marked by the sound of brass bands, prayer, and the dance of hundreds of devotees, the 2026 Fiesta de la Tirana officially began at the town's sanctuary, a celebration that, this year, brings together 208 religious dance groups and commemorates the centenary of the Virgin of Mount Carmel as Queen and Patroness of Chile.
Where are you from?
From Antofagasta.
Did you come for the opening of the festival?
We come every year for the opening to see the Chinita.
It has been like a chain of blessings that she gave us throughout this year, which moves me quite a bit. Every year it's a tradition, a family tradition. At first, I participated in the Heart of Mary Religious Society, and later I stopped dancing, but we continued to come with the family as a tradition.
During the days of celebration, masses will be held daily at 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. On July 16th, the streets of La Tirana will vibrate to the rhythm of China's Chanchos and Diabladas to honor the solemnity of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. We hope with all our hearts that the 208 religious societies that belong to this institution are organized to fulfill their vows and give thanks for everything experienced in this beautiful space in the Tamarugal Pampa. A celebration of La Tirana has its origins in the Andean Pampa. Originally linked to the Virgin of Copacabana, it began as a mining and peasant festival, started by Aymara workers who worked in the local copper and silver mines. Through myths, religious syncretism, and a strong presence of the saltpeter mines, La Tirana has become a cultural phenomenon beyond the religious festival that has designated July 16th as a holiday in Chile since 1910. There is an Andean worldview rooted in ancient times that speaks of music being directly connected to this perspective of ritual with a body that dances around prayer. During his 2018 visit to the region, Pope Francis recognized and honored the traditional Pampina festival and officially declared the Virgin as Queen and Mother of Chile, creating a figure of veneration associated with national traditions, which therefore converges with this sentiment of Chilean identity.
So, Rodolfo Andaur, could you tell us just sort of your bio, like basically who you are, what the work that you do, and the fact that you have a place, you live out there, just to explain that.
Well, I study journalism and literature, and also MA in Latin American history of art. So from 2006, I've been working as curator in many projects in Chile. Most of the time is spreading the Tarapacá culture, because Tarapacá has a very irregular, I say irregular history against Chile.
Yeah.
Because Tarapacá was a very important region for the viceroy of Peru, and then from the Republic of Peru and the British Empire with Chile, that was not a very old country, took away this land from Peru, and that situation generate for more than 140 years a lot of violent problems that we are still living in. So I dedicate my text and dedicate my work also to generate some dialogues to persuade people that this violence that we are living now is not just an effect of the social media, it's also effect of a country as Chile that is impulse some politics, violence politics in our region. So I've been working in many regions about that because many regions feel the same. I'm explaining you now because Chile is super centralized country. Tarapacá and Antofagasta got the richness of Chile.
Can you explain that this is a Baroque, an indigenous, when I think of an art movement that goes back to
1600s.
Yeah. How do you explain that indigenous to here, and how does that movement connect?
Well, I think the Andean culture is all the time is still renovating the symbols of the colonization. So in American society now and in Europe society now, they are trying to tell us that the decolonization is a process that we have to assume as a South American culture. And in the context of this region, in the context of Tarapacá against Chile, we are still living in a colonization process. So all our process are anti-colonialism, are not decolonialism. And in that way, I think it's important to analyze that the Baroque that I said to you about the acculturation maybe is a base to help and to understand the process of this region and also the Philippine regions that suffer a lot with the Spanish conqueror, right. Hong Kong region, some regions in California, in Texas, blah, blah, blah. Because Baroque is a very good issue to develop a research about La Tirana, because all the aesthetics of La Tirana is, in a way, part of this Baroque, the Spanish Baroque, but also how the Indigenous impose their own Baroque. Because the Catholic Church, most of the time, are not very in touch with the dancers in La Tirana. So Catholic Church, most of the time, reinforce this theory about syncretism, but for Indigenous is acculturation. And acculturation is you are giving me some information and I'm giving you some information, and this mix of information that in La Tirana transform in a dancing, right, in a costume, in a way of thinking, is acculturation for Indigenous. But for the church is syncretism, because the church assume all the time that they impose a point of view to the Indigenous in Latin America. And we now in La Tirana understand very well that that is not possible, because the people faith it's not Catholic at all.
Interesting.
You know,
Yeah.
it's in touch with sin, kind of sinner. So we, all of us are sinners.
Sinner thoughts.
Yeah, sinner thoughts.
Meaning everyone's a sinner, actually. But
Catholic, the dancers don't want to be like that. I love La Tirana because it's not a touristic place. It's very local.
it is not. It is not at all.
But every time it's crowded, more crowded.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think these 2 points of syncretism and acculturation can be a good door to open a research for two of us, in terms that the Catholic Church is still insisting that they controlling the whole aspects of these festivals, but indeed the festival is controlled by the dancers.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This aggregation of dancers are controlling everything. They are very well organized in those terms. They function like this kind of old workers in the nitrate epoch too.
Yeah.
And also La Tirana is part of the Chilenization process of this region, because this region was Peru.
Right.
So in that way also the Catholic Church have done that effort to persuade the population in the north of Chile to become more Chilean than the others, you know.
Yeah. Can we touch on a part of that in the Chilean? Because it seems also very Bolivian with the mass and the
Yeah, no,
or Peruvian or whatever indigenous.
Yeah, I grew up in this city, and this city was very multicultural all the time. I had Chinese friends and also Bolivian friends, Peruvian friends, Indian friends, indigenous friends. So I think in La Tirana you can understand very well this mix that is also part of the mix of this treatment culture that the Andes is too. You know, the
Right.
Incan tribe generate this kind of treatment. Tarapacá region is very well known because they have a lot of geoglyphs in any places,
Yeah,
because
we do.
this is a region of this is a commercial region for many in many aspects, for those who are living now in Brazil, others who are living in Paraguay. Iquique is a very important harbor, but the region is also a harbor for many other countries. So, in a way, I think La Tirana also represents that, and for that reason, I think the Baroque, when we study art and we specialize in Andean Baroque, you analyze that it's very funny to hear the voice of the Spanish priest, also the Chilean priest, assuming all the time that they are dealing with just the Catholic point of view of something, not the indigenous or multicultural point of view. And I don't know if you saw this group of dancers that called Los Chinos.
I don't remember them specifically, but I mean,
Chinos.
How would we know if we saw them?
Because the chino is they use a flute. They are brown clothes with some white pieces of clothes on it, and that is the most important group in La Tirana, Los Chinos.
or why are they the most important?
Yeah, now it's a very important history. The word Chino in Quechua language, in the language of the Inca Empire, means slave. So Chino in Spanish is when you say that someone from China came,
Right.
right?
Oh, yeah.
So in this region and other parts of the south of Peru, at the beginning of the 19th century and at the end of the 19th century, the viceroy of Peru bought a lot of chinos to become slaves and to get guano,
Yes.
They
bird
want
dropping.
bird droppings as
They were
a
invited
fertilizer.
for work and became
Yeah.
slaves.
So
Yeah.
when they arrive here and they analyze, and also when the bird dropping market collapsed, they moved to the nitrate
Right.
market. So there in the market, a nitrate market, they saw how these people that name all the time the chinos as a slave is the same when they were slaves in the guano. So in this festival, they are this group of people that is in touch with the virgin. They carry the virgin, they move the virgin to the main square. They are protecting and they're spreading the value of the Virgin La Tirana. So in a way, it's really interesting how this group of dancers call themselves chinos. They represent this both sides of the history in the Andes. One side is when the chinos came here to extract beer dropping, but in the same time, the chino word means slave.
And were the indigenous people slaves to the Spanish thing? Is that also where the
Yeah.
double meaning comes from?
Because in Chile and in Peru, someone that is taking care of the housekeeping, for example, it's a chino. They call regularly like you are a chino. It's like an slang, but also chino means in Quechua slaves.
Right. And the costumes, the boots, there were a lot of those bells there. So wasn't that meant to be
symbolic of chains, and that wasn't
Yeah.
only
Some-
dancers who were called chinos, but
Yeah.
mainly,
No,
there
not
was
just the
quite a
chinos.
few.
No.
Yeah.
No, also because the other part of the costume that represent these chains are linking most of the time with the black people that came from Africa to work in Potosí.
In Potosi. Okay.
And you know the Potosí was a very
silver
important,
mines.
was a very important silver mine for the Spanish conquerors.
You're listening to Ecojustice Radio, a listener-supported media outlet. Please consider making a donation to ensure that we can continue to provide socially and environmentally driven content. Donations can be made at ecojusticeradio.org and socal350.org. For an extended version of this interview, as well as other benefits, we encourage you to become a member of our Patreon, Patreon/Ecojustice Radio. Today you're listening to La Tirana Festival, Primordial Narratives and Spanish Conquest collide in the Atacama Desert of Chile. I'm your host, Jack Eidt, and we feature a discussion between Rodolfo Andaur, a visual arts curator and cultural manager based in the Tarapacá region of the Atacama Desert in Chile, and Osceola Refetoff, Canadian-American visual artist and photojournalist, and my collaborator on the PBS SoCal project called High and Dry.
Thousands of pilgrims filled the sanctuary of La Tirana in northern Chile on the eve of the Feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. The celebration marked the 100th anniversary of her coronation as Queen and Patroness of Chile, bringing together faithful from across the nation for prayer and thanksgiving. During the solemn Mass, Bishop Isauro Covili of Iquique reminded the faithful that this centenary is a living invitation to recognize Mary's constant presence. He reflected that through Chile's moments of joy and hardship, the Virgin has remained a sign of comfort, unity, and hope. The bishop urged pilgrims to imitate Mary by embracing conversion, forgiveness, and selfless service, while actively protecting human dignity. As midnight approached, the beloved image of the Virgin was welcomed with applause, songs, and traditional religious dances. The celebrations continued with masses, rosaries, and processions, renewing the nation's trust in its heavenly patroness.
Though another point interesting in terms of also the nitrate, the strong, representation of the lifetime in the Región de Tarapacá, Atacama Desert. It's about when you saw this, a lot of groups that use feather like North American groups.
Yeah.
That is because most of the people in the nitrate epoch see these films, that American films,
And they identified with the Indians, not
Yeah.
the continent.
and also the gypsies. How the gypsies appears also because the gypsies looks in Chile like common people that are living like homeless. So they're-
Gypsies from Romania, gypsies?
yeah, Romanian gypsies, but in Chile, most of the gypsies are living like homeless. So, in a way, they represent someone that needs to be care about it, right? Like, you need to be.
Housed and
Yeah.
given food and
Yeah.
but that was not the role they played in the dances.
No, because but also that how the gypsy represent in the society, how the gypsy also is someone that needs to be next to the Virgin for her protection. So for that reason, the people create these kind of groups because they feel themselves that they are not protected like the North American Indians, right?
Yeah, sure.
But also at the same tale with in terms of the Chino and the baile Chino, most of the Tamarugal culture, Pampal Tamarugal culture, use most of feathers to decorate themselves. And that is a very important coincidence with North American groups that use feathers too.
Right.
So I think in the context of I like to use the word territoriality because I think when you are doing a research, most of the time you just people say, yeah, you are studying territories, but But for me, territoriality is when you are using all these kind of details that are connecting with some chronicles about the pastime of a group of people, but also how this pastime represents something in the current situation. Because the Indian Sioux, the Apache, the Cheyenne people playing and dancing in La Tirana, they never been to in America and United States. They never been to Canada. They just saw that movie,
Right.
and through that movie, they felt that the Indios need the protection of the Virgin.
Wow.
The Gypsy, also the Chunchos. The Chunchos is the also a super important group of dancers in La Tirana, and los Chunchos use also a lot of feather. And when the people in the oficinas salitreras at the beginning of the 20th century, in thousands of oficinas salitreras that most of them extract nitrate and export nitrate from Iquique, they analyze how this feather of the Chunchos represents something interesting for them, but the movement of the Chunchos don't represent them at all. So for that reason, they saw these movies and say and try to convince themselves that we discovered something new, and we want to create something new through these movies that we are watching it in the cinemas of Tarapacá. And in that way, I think I'm going to send you a film that I'm working now. That is a film of the La Tirana in the 40s. It's super interesting. I have a piece of that in YouTube, but the whole movie I can get the authorization that you can see, because there is in an archive in Santiago in a university, and that is a very interesting way to analyze how the Catholic Church trying to obligate the people in La Tirana or the pilgrimage in La Tirana to maintain some Spanish tradition to understand Catholic Church. And for sure, that tradition disappeared forever, because the resistance of the people to believe in just one side of the route to see and to connect with La Tirana have to be multicultural. There's no one view to see La Tirana.
That's right.
There is a lot of view to see La Tirana, and I think the Catholic Church never took the chance to understand that. Oh, indeed they don't want it. They refuse to do it. Also because La Tirana represents the bad woman. It's not like
Represent the what?
the bad woman.
A bad woman.
Yeah.
Wow.
So La Tirana, does that mean something? Is it tyrant?
The tyrant. So how does that tie? Explain where that comes from. What's the connection?
Well, next year is going to, in Peru, there's going to be a commemoration in the literature field about a poet that 100 years ago created the myth of La Tirana. He wrote between a poetry and a chronicle about some old chronicles about this town in the middle of the desert, and how they discovered that Tarapacá also was a place to exile a lot of Inca people that they are not following the rules of the Inca Fire. So Tarapacá, the name of Tarapacá is also came from the name Tunupa, and Tunupa was a very important god for the Inca Empire. And Tunupa was obligated to exile to Tarapacá to generate green places, to do the impossible. You have to
Dream places.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to go to do the impossible. Maybe you are obligated to generate a forest in the desert. How you want to do that? So, in a way, Tunupa was a shaman, a very important shaman. And Tunupa was very important to survive in these super strong desert conditions. It's super, you feel it in La Tirana. It's very, really...
That sun was brutal. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's cold at night.
And La Tirana appeared in the 1500s. And La Tirana was a woman that was also exiled to Tarapacá because she was a Ñusta. Ñusta in Quechua means princess. So her name was Ñusta Huillac. So Ñusta Huillac, the princess Huillac, was exiled to Tarapacá, and she became in the Robin Hood of La Pampa Tamarugal.
Robin Hood.
Yeah, Robin
Okay,
Hood.
wow.
So when the Spanish passed through Pampa Tamarugal, this woman stole them and fight with them with a tribe of people that followed her. And suddenly, like at the end of the 1500s, yeah, 1592, she was tricked by the Spanish, and she was obligated to be in prison in La Tirana. And in prison, she fell in love with a Portuguese guy, and this Portuguese guy obligated her to marry. And when both of them getting married in the middle of the desert, the tribe of La Tirana appear, the former tribe of La Tirana appear in a scene and kill them all.
Killed both of them.
Yeah.
But this was the tribe who she was working with to steal from the rich.
Yes.
That they felt she was betraying.
Yeah. So in that way, I think 10 years later, a Spanish priest discovered this tomb of La Tirana and her husband, and this priest start telling the community that they need to venerate La Tirana because La Tirana changed her Indian move for the Catholic one, and she was bad and now she was good because she got married with a Spanish or a European guy.
Right.
And they start spreading this history about La Tirana, but the whole myth, like we know until today, was written by this a Peruvian poet.
Wow.
So I'm working with a project with La Tirana now, so I discovered this film, and also I discovered some chronicles about a priest in Pica. Pica is near La Tirana, about the right tomb of La Tirana and his husband. But also there is a lot of photos of La Tirana, very historical photos of La Tirana that are not in this region, are in Santiago. So my idea is to recover all this information and to put in La Tirana in the next season of La Tirana on the streets. That the people, all the visitors that are almost, I think this year was 300,000 people.
It probably was 300,000. Not 200,000 anymore.
I know.
Wow.
So it was amazing how few people there were that we saw that were not Chilean, or not from the region. Today, there was not very many gringos.
I think there were two,
Two gringos.
as far as I saw, which is funny. It's considering what was going on in San Pedro. How come in San Pedro nobody knows to just drive down the road? It's actually a shock.
It was in the guidebooks. I mean, I saw it without much effort. We're like, oh, the dates are rising. We're going to go to this thing.
Yeah.
We're going to see first. But surprisingly, I didn't see anyone else.
Well, there's nowhere to stay, you have to rough it, kind of, I mean, maybe normal tourists, whatever that means, they didn't have a way to go there. Maybe that's it.
No, there was no hotel spot.
No, yeah. But I think all these connections with La Tirana is also giving you some facts and also some histories about how the north of Chile is also part of a global context in the way of this, for example, Apache and Cherokee people dancing with this history. Yeah. So because if I could recognize something good for the British Empire with the nitrate companies in these towns, is that they gave them a lot of modern entertainment, like a cinema, photography.
Yeah.
That in other places in Chile didn't happen.
Because there was a famous theater in Mariamena.
That was amazing. Metro Goldwyn Mayer Theater.
Yeah.
Probably. Also, I'm a big pilgrim. I walk on during 16 years. I've been walking to the Virgin. I never prayed to the Virgin. Just for me very strong connection. To be there, to feel this collective sensation about La Tirana.
Absolutely.
But also, I think because I got this very good local education, family education with La Tirana, because my family is one part is super Catholic and they also believe in La Tirana, but they have this problem with that La Tirana is the sinner place, right? It's the people because for them the dancers
I
are
could
not
see that it's sooner, yes.
the dancers are not good people. They are there dancing because they are not good ones. They got something to ask for the Virgin, and they need to ask also to feel relief, to feel good.
Well, also, Diablo, the concept, each of the dancers, first thing they have, all these monster effects coming in.
Yeah.
There's the condor. There's other different characters that are very extreme to normal people that maybe need some explanation. It seems like we're going to the dark side, praying to some evil entities. What is that? How do you explain that?
Well, there's a lot of animals in the Andean culture that you can see in La Tirana that represent the capital sins.
The capital sins, like the 7 deadly sins.
Yeah.
But also, I think
For example, the spider, the bird, the ant that you can see in the costume.
the snake.
The snake, they are the capital sins.
The sins,
Yeah.
But I think any good drama has to involve the conflict between good and evil.
Yeah, but also because the Andean culture has all these kind of theories about how humans have to understand the non-humans, but at the same time, the things that you can see, the things that you can
Things that
explain.
you can't see. I love that.
So,
yes.
so for example, I can do something here. Sure. We have this very important symbol in the Andean culture.
Oh yeah,
That is
space time.
Yeah, the chacana. So the chacana,
Oh, the Chicana.
I'm not good in drawing, but it's
Yeah,
something
no,
like
it's
that.
good. It's good.
So the chacana represent the world, the Andean world. So here is the mountains, then the valleys, then the pampas, and in this part there is all these kind of symbols that you can explain at once. You can explain with drawings. Everything here is orally or not physical. So when the Spanish arrive, they need to represent these no signs with signs and symbols. For example, Santiago, San Santiago is a very important saint for the Spanish Catholic Church.
Right.
So
Saint
when the
James.
Spanish arrive to this area, they can understand how the Aymara venerate the lighting, for example. So the Catholic create that the San Santiago was the lighting that appears in the Bolivian winter that in Chile calls Bolivian winter from December to March.
Are we
That-
talking the
yeah,
stars?
No, the lighting, the lighting like this lighting that have been in the storm.
Oh, lightning.
Lightning.
Okay,
Lightning.
thank you.
So the lightning, they mix the San Santiago with lightning. So there is a lot of San Santiagos in the church of the Andean part of Chile and Bolivia and Peru, and you can see a saint with a very old hat, like the Conqueror hat,
Yes.
with the symbol of Flash Gordon.
Oh, yeah. I think I've seen that. Flash Gordon.
Yeah, I think it's
You're
it's
right, you're
Very,
right.
very, very common line, right? So they have to generate that to persuade indigenous to say, yeah, you believe in this, but we got this symbol for that. You don't have to continue believing
absolutely.
in that.
Yeah.
You have to believe in this.
Yeah,
Right.
It's similar enough so you can.
Yeah, but in a way, that occurs with the bird, for example, with the spider, with the snake. But in the case of the devil, is because in the Andean culture, this place that we don't know for the Spanish is the devil side.
Wow.
So the indigenous call a figure in that world. In that world, they call a figure, but they call it. They don't have a symbol for that. They just call it orally. Also because all these towns don't have graphics they don't have written languages. They just oral language. So for them, they have a a figure that they speak about that was a man that lived in the caves when they extract silver, they extract gold, blah blah blah. So this man they call Tiw.
You.
Yeah. So they call Tiw,
Okay.
Tiw, and that is equals to Tío for the
Right,
Spanish
That's what I was thinking, Tio.
uncle.
Right.
So the Tiw and Tío means Diablo.
Wow.
So when
The
you
devil is
visit,
our uncle.
yeah, when you visit all this part of Bolivia, in many places that the workers are in charge with mining, in principally silver, stanium, or gold. In the caves, you can see a Tiw, that is the devil. So they venerate the Tiw. They pray for the
For
Tiw.
protection.
Yeah, they drink some pisco or another kind of drink, and they put the pisco in
Right.
front of the Tiw.
Right.
So the Tiw protect, because for the Spanish, the Tiw is the bad one. But in under my point of view, why the Spanish, all this kind of unknown atmosphere is the bad side of something?
Yes.
Also because because they need to control everything, and also the Catholic in a way needs to control everything. So for that reason, I think when they to generate this choreography that the devil is dancing with the China, that is
Wow.
the
Yeah.
the slave, and suddenly appears this little angel.
Yes, you're
That
right.
is a bird, a super non teenager girl that
We
try.
saw it. We saw it many times.
Yeah. So this girl, generate a balance between the devil, and also the devil represent that you need to smoke something, inlay something. You are a bad guy or bad people, etc. And the China represent the slave, the woman that is all the time thinking about this faith, and blah blah blah.
You're listening to Ecojustice Radio, a listener-supported media outlet. Please consider making a donation to ensure that we can continue to provide socially and environmentally driven content. Donations can be made at ecojusticeradio.org and socal350.org. For an extended version of this interview, as well as other benefits, we encourage you to become a member of our Patreon, Patreon/Ecojustice Radio. Today you're listening to La Tirana Festival, Primordial Narratives and Spanish Conquest collide in the Atacama Desert of Chile. I'm your host, Jack Eidt, and we feature a discussion between Rodolfo Andaur, a visual arts curator and cultural manager based in the Tarapacá region of the Atacama Desert in Chile, and Osceola Refetoff, Canadian-American visual artist and photojournalist, and my collaborator on the PBS SoCal project called High and Dry.
So I had a question. So when you go into the church, everyone is reciting a prayer, or they're moving and they're singing it. What is that prayer? I mean, that gets more into the Catholic side, right?
Yeah, but I think it's important when each cofradia, the cofradia is the
Right,
group of
understood.
dancers. So each cofradia create their own poetry to sing to the Virgin. So it's not just Catholic.
Okay.
So they're all this poetry is very connected with the social life of them.
Well, yes. A friend of mine, I said, I want to know what they're saying, and what he goes. I said, well, how can I get like some record of what they're saying? He says, I can't give you that. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So I think that goes to what you're saying, that
Yeah.
it's maybe different with each
Yeah.
cofradia.
Yeah, because each cofradia has their own way. There are more than 200 cofradias. So
Right.
each of them.
And these are 200 different communities, or there's different cofradias in the same community?
No, there is different cofradias that belongs to different group of dancers.
Right.
Because, for example, I saw this year 5 group of chinos, and most of the time I just saw two cofradias of chinos, and now it's 5 cofradias of chinos. Chunchos. I wanted to show you the chunchos. So the chunchos, most of the time was 1 group of chuncho. Now I 3 group of chunchos. So
Chunchos.
yeah, chunchos is this one. This is chuncho.
I did not
So
see them.
this is the very typical group of dancers of the Pampal Tamarugal. So they imitate a bird,
Wow.
I
you
did
know?
not see those guys.
Yeah, we didn't see them.
Chunchos.
As much as we saw, we did not see them.
So the Cheyenne groups and Cherokee groups
Yes, we saw a
imitate,
bit of them.
but there's a very important sociologist of this a research about La Tirana that they said that La Tirana, the people in La Tirana renovate and then they modernize the tradition. They renovate the tradition. If you go to La Tirana, you can analyze all the time the past. You have to renovate your boats, and that means that you have to change in a way. You aesthetically, also in the music, they change a lot. The music every year, the music change.
Okay, that was the
It's
question.
very similar.
Yeah, that was. It seemed like the thing that I kept noticing is there are specific dances in specific situations.
Yeah.
They are prescribed and controlled by many who are sort of choreographed. So they're number one, number two, number three. There's not a lot of in the United States. It's like who can outdo ever. We don't have that here. This is not about outdoing.
Not a competition.
It's not an individual competition, but there were very different types of music and very different types of outfits, costumes. So it's for me, coming from the culture where there's a lot of competition and there's like, who are we going to outdo? There's not this competition between these different.
No, because most of the dancer, their first goal is to you obtain this connection with La Tirana, and also they call La Tirana La Chinita, the little China, the little Chinese, so the little slave, because for them La Tirana is also a slave of the Catholic Church.
Wow.
They call China. I came here to pray for mi Chinita. So all these cofradías has different type of music, depends of the bomb. Also because the bomb, the drum, and this little drum that I don't know the word in English, but it's a little drum that they are.
Yeah, they have the big drums.
Yeah, and then the little one.
The little ones, yeah.
But they call here caja. So
Okay.
the caja.
The box.
Yeah. The caja generate different types of movement for any cofradías. And you can recognize, for example, a Diablada is very typical how the Diablada create these tones and sounds in opposite for the Cheyenne people dancing in La Tirana. Or chunchos, or also tincus. Yesterday I saw the former wife of a cousin of mine that she came from Santiago. She's a very important police woman in Santiago, very famous one.
Okay.
And she came just to La Tirana to dance 2 nights. And she paid like more than $3,000 for that costume.
So the costumes,
I love the costumes.
I heard that a lot of the masks come from Bolivia.
Yeah, because the Diablada generate in Bolivia, not in Chile.
Not in Chile.
Because
Nor in Peru.
Not on Peru. Also, Morenada, for example. Morenada is totally different the sound.
Morenada.
Morenada.
The dark.
Morenada
In the
represents.
US.
Yeah. Morenada can be like the combination between black and indigenous.
Right.
Moreno.
Okay.
And this dance represent the most important hierarchy in the Aymaran communities.
Wow.
So they are rich people, dancing. Yeah. They are not poor, but in La Tirana, they are just friars. Well, this is the gypsies. Like anytime now, there are a lot of gypsy groups.
So I saw it's almost the pentagram 5-pointed star, which connects to the
Occult.
The occult, the anti-Catholic Church, the Free Catholic Church. So it was connected with I don't know if we call them Roma, whether it's gypsy,
Yeah, I think every time you can see, as I told you, that they have to renovate anytime this way of dance, this way of generate sounds, this way of also install in the main square because for any piece of part of the square, also there is, I think that in that case, there is a competition to be in one side of the square. And
The one with the sun?
no, but also in terms that how they can be recognizable for most of the people there.
Well, I was wondering because
Best spot.
Yeah,
Well-
the best spot for that.
it seemed to the outsider random how they come in and they perform, but we saw in certain places a whole list of what was going to happen when. So it was more choreographed in terms of who was going to be where
Yeah.
at what time.
Yeah, and there's a lot of agrupations and corporations of cofradías. So there is no one cofradía, there is a different group of cofradías. And I think in that way, the most important cofradía is the first Diablada of Chile, that it was founded in Iquique. So the first Diablada in Chile needs the best place.
How would you translate into English Diablado?
Like you can say a crew of devils?
Okay, thank you.
Diablada. The crew of devils.
There was
Crew of
one place that
devils.
had like their
There were
club,
crews of
right?
If you see the front of the church,
Yep.
you know, in the left side,
Yeah.
that is the hard side,
Yeah.
is the first Diablada, the crew of devil of Chile in that place.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah.
They need that place
So
because
the
they are
church
like
is here and they're here.
almost 400 dancers.
So when you say the heart side of the central square, so you are likening the central square of La Tirana, which of course Parque Central is in a normal creation in Spanish colonial realities, but you're likening it to a body. How do you explain that? The left side meaning the heart, the heart side of the Parque Central.
Yeah, but I think because it's this cofradía is almost 110 years and they are surviving all these Catholic rules in La Tirana. So in a way they need or maybe they deserve to be in that place. I'm not so sure if I'm right about that, but I think it's also
Okay, it's all right.
it's also the hierarchy of the cofradías too, because in the cofradías, when you participate in a group of cofradías, you have also be aware to be in a hierarchic, you know, a group of people. So the old dancer has more privilege than the new one, and
But
the
it was
position.
But it was an interesting and a really positive mix between old and young in terms of dance.
But you're talking about older and young people. You're talking
Right.
about older and younger troops.
Cofradia,
No, cofradías.
older cofradias, ones that have been around
No.
forever.
Yeah, and also if you have an old cofradías, how do you understand the old people in that old cofradías, you know, opposite to the young people in the old cofradías, and then you go to the new cofradías that maybe is the first presentation was this year in La Tirana, and how they understand who is going to be the leader of that group. Is if all of us for the first time are new ones, you know, doing this kind of ceremony in La Tirana. And also there is all these kind of figurines, and the figurine is the woman that try to entertain and provoke some men, you know, to facing El Angelito, facing the devil, facing La China. She got this attitude that she want to impress you, and she want to get you, and she want to attract you.
It's a little bit sexy.
Yeah. For that reason, the scheme of La Chacana in the Andean culture explain a lot how we can see and maybe not understand it, just to observe with another point of view La Tirana. Because sometimes there is no explanation for you for your first time in La Tirana, for many symbols. For me, for sure, I've been living in La Tirana for all these years. But also, I expect this renovation all the time. As a part of this festivity, I expect the renovation of these boats facing La Tirana. I don't want to come back anytime watching the same.
You're right. So I'm interested in a little bit in the hierarchy of. It seems like usually there's a man who is the leader. He's the whistle. He's the
Alferez.
Yeah, the pop.
Alferez.
Alferez.
Alferez
¿Qué
is the
significa?
boss,
Okay.
the boss of the group. So the Alferez is the commander-in-chief of the group. He tried to remark the movements. If you have the hat like this, he's going to tell you with this kind of
Whistle.
The whistle, yeah. There are lots of whistles.
Yeah,
going on.
get your hat right.
there are in for example in this big diabladas there is at least 4 alferez and maybe 2 men and 2 women.
Could you tell us what the work that you do?
So I created in Chile this. Well, I create the format for Chile because I didn't create anything, but it's like invite some group of people to generate these territorial research trips through the desert and also in Patagonia, and to be in touch with this kind of festivities, for example, or some other kinds of festivities in many places in Chile. So that invites you to generate, for example, this dialogue. We are totally different between us, but we can generate a dialogue to understand in a way, briefly, the first impression of being in La Tirana, sharing with the people in La Tirana, but at the same time, I'm learning for in this experience too, because anytime I'm learning about La Tirana, because
Right.
as a prayer, I think also you are learning the way that you can communicate your sensation later. Because for my family, for example, they don't understand why I'm not Catholic and I'm part of this.
It's very.
And I say,
I love that actually.
I don't need to be Catholic.
No,
to
you
be
don't
in
at
front
all.
of La Tirana. So in that way, I think it's important to rescue that. And I think when I said a few minutes ago about territoriality, I think it's a good word to work, because now in many places people use territory and repeat territory, but the territory is not the base of a research. Territoriality is a focus in people, but also in these symbols that you can explain in words. You have to believe the experience, and you have to be in touch with experience, and then you have to write some notes and you think about something. And
I feel like there's like an avalanche of English language and American culture. Like all of the cinema and cartoons and everything, it's just washing over the world. And so there's a few small places where, unique culture continues to exist and acts as the balance to this sort of pervasive homogenization of culture. And so I think that's why it's so important to have places like this that are uniquely territorial and have their own feature that is not influenced by, this, I guess, more and more corporatized and generic sort of culture that we're all experiencing because we watch the same movies, the same ads, and the same music. This is something that sort of counterbalances that.
yeah,
One thing I wanted to circle back around, because you started off talking about Peru. How do you explain that with everything that we've been talking about, which is indigenous to here? And
there is some problems with the use of words in our languages, both Spanish and English, that in a way try to pass by many other subjects that we need to rescue to analyze this kind of cultural manifestations that in a way are anti-colonialism. Despite the Catholic Church said that they are helping the dancers, they are maintains the church because that is the house of the dancers. That is not true.
Well, interesting.
But we can support that public discourses for sure.
At midnight, everything got very quiet, and then there was the loudspeaker with the religious talking. People were responding to that, but it seemed very disconnected from everything that was happening before and after. There was a moment in midnight where it was all about the Catholic Church, and then everyone went back to
I can assure you that La Tirana was one of the most important festivals for the Catholic Church in Chile, because they can generate this amount of people, but they still don't understand that the amount of people is not for them. Right. It's for La Tirana. Come on, La Tirana
is so much.
No dancing, no people.
Yeah, La Tirana is the culturation symbol. They can't say anything because the Pope Francisco, the Argentinian Pope, that is the Vatican Church,
Yes,
right?
Yes, yes, of course.
He came the second year that he was named as.
He came to La Tirana.
No!
Oh, okay.
I have to tell you this. I have to tell you this fake story about Francisco. Francisco came to Chile
Pope Francis in English.
and decides to came to Iquique. And the people in Iquique say you have to go to La Tirana.
Okay.
Because
Yes.
if you don't go to La Tirana, you can understand anything about this region. And Francisco say, no, I don't want to, because in the rumor,
Yeah.
in the gossip,
Right.
they say that he was super affected by the history of La Tirana. Because La Tirana was the bad woman.
Right.
And
well,
was
no.
like a
All you have to
prostitute, blah,
see
blah,
is
blah.
all the devils
Yeah.
dancing around and
So
the monsters.
Francisco organized a meeting in the south of Iquique, and he asked to the Catholic Church in Chile, "I need La Tirana came to me in the south of Iquique and not in La Tirana." So no one
Came.
no one was super funny because they prepared a place for more than 200,000
Yeah,
people in the south of Iquique,
And no one.
So Francisco, you can behave like that in La Tirana. Come on. So that was a very current, good example about the Catholic Church is super fail about the way that they understand La Tirana I think, until today. And then Francisco, because of that failed situation, came to Iquique, and the Catholic Church start calling all these fascist people in Iquique that are very Catholic that precede Francisco in Iquique. No one also.
Interesting.
That was in February of 2018. That also was funny for me because I said, come on. If you want to generate something ritual in this region, you have to go to La Tirana. Because you have that church more important than in Iquique.
Yeah.
Well, there's worse popes than him, but yes. Yeah, he's from Argentina. you know.
No, but also when he was Archbishop in Buenos Aires, he accused to an artist, a very important Argentinian artist, Leon Ferrari, to close his exhibition in Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
And the exhibition,
Yeah, I remember this.
and the exhibition was closed one day, and then the royal court said, Francisco, come on, we have the Catholic Church is not ruling this country since more than 100 years, so we have to reopen the exhibition. So when you visit the exhibition, Francisco called all these women, very crazy women of the Catholic Church, and you visit the exhibition and she received you, spit you out, fighting you. They destroy many work of art inside the exhibition place.
Oh, really?
Really? Was really fake, and that was originated by Francisco the Pope. So I can understand all the other popes, but this one was this super sensitive connection with my type of work. So I said,
He also was part of normalizing the dictatorship back in the 70s.
for sure. Now there's some Argentinian movement trying to change the history, but come on, Francisco, assume your responsibility. So what else with La Tirana?
You know, I study a lot about mythology, in particular, a lot of indigenous, but also, you know, from other places. But the indigenous mythology is very much alive in these dances. So, I mean, we've sort of discussed the role. I mean, the one thing I said to him after midnight, one particular dance we were at after midnight on the 15th to 16th,
Yes.
it was only the extreme monsters and the devils dancing.
You got great video of that.
It was really powerful
Yeah.
because it was like after hours, you know, early on, it was a little more with the little nice little girls in the white and the hoop skirts or whatever, however we say those. At that hour, it was, we're
All
dancing
monsters
with
and
the
devils.
monsters and devils,
It
and
was
it
the
was
bears and the
really
devils.
beautiful.
It was beautiful. I do have a question for you, though, because you work a lot with international artists who come here, and your specific expertise is connecting them to local culture. The question is, how do you feel about foreign artists like working here in Chile, particularly with regards to sort of unpacking like the cultural history?
Well, I think it's important that when you are creating information and you are creating also the way, so you are creating new knowledges, it's important to be connected with foreign artists. I think the foreign artists open new views of your way to curate a place, opens new facts, open dialogues. I think for me it's super important to generate some dialogues.
Yeah.
I don't feel insecure with foreign artists. For sure, there are some foreign artists that came here and generate some praise with La Tirana that I think are super insane.
Wrong.
Because for me, I'm wrong and totally
Interesting.
no, I'm totally like don't understanding the way that, for example, these two principles that I explained that this is not a religious festival.
Right.
So yeah, in a way that what is the term religious for them? Because religion doesn't mean Catholic. Come on. So also with colonization, if an artist from America or Europe or whatever came to Chile to say, no, we are going to discuss about decolonization or neocolonialism. No, come on. We have to start with anti-colonialism first.
Right.
Because we never have the opportunity to generate dialogues about that. Maybe in America you have, maybe in Canada and Germany, for example, that now they are all the time push this kind of decolonization process. But what doesn't mean decolonization process when a country as Germany support the genocide in Gaza, for example, for me, in Chile? It's totally insane.
Right.
So for me, when artists came here, super brave, and at the end, they are a chicken, I don't agree with that. I prefer to these artists that you can talk very openly and with any like these fashionable words that in the world of art are using all the time, like landscape, territory, inclusion.
Yeah.
Thank you to Rodolfo Andaur and Osceola Refetoff. And thank you to our listeners for joining us. This has been La Tirana Festival, Primordial Narratives and Spanish Conquest collide in the Atacama Desert of Chile. For an extended version of this show, please become a member of our Patreon or visit our website at ecojusticeradio.org. This is Jack Eidt, coming to you from multiple undisclosed locations under a bank of coast live oaks next to a flowing stream that originates from deep underground. Please connect with us on social media at Ecojustice Radio, SoCal 350 and Wilder Utopia. If you like what you've heard and you want others to be informed, subscribe and share the episodes. A project of SoCal 350, the show can be found on all major podcast apps at ecojusticeradio.org. Executive producer and host, Jack Eidt, me. Co-host, Carrie Kim. Engineer, Blake Quake Beats. And original music by myself and Blake Quake Beats. And we encourage everyone to get your mind and your body out into the wild.